Blessings in Jesus, dear friends. My name is James Jacob Prasch from Moriel Ministries. I'm coming to you here from Scotland. I'm at Loch Lomond, as in the Bunny banks of. We have the Moriel Conference this weekend in Scotland, nearby in Stirling, and therefore I'm unable to be on catching up this week, but I am pre-recording this hot take. Um, it's the best we can do under the circumstances. It's just a very busy time of year when I need to be in Ireland, I need to be in Scotland, and so forth. So we are here doing a hot take for catching up. A couple of other things. We do request prayer for Pastor Marco Quintana. He is battling health issues, and he's going to be seeing some very top medical specialists because the situation is complicated endocrinologically. And it's caused a lot of pressure for him, for his family, for his church, and certainly for Moriel. So prayers are appreciated for Pastor Marco Quintana's health and for all of us. Be that as it may, a hot take, quite a number of things. I have tried to inculcate, as well as other members of Moriel, including Marco, that the struggles we are seeing in the geopolitical sphere are like what we see in the book of Zechariah. Zechariah reported from the heavenly perspective about what was going on in the conflicts being faced by Ezra and Nehemiah. Ezra and Nehemiah faced political, military opposition, religious opposition, but it was a reflection of a conflict that was happening in the heavenlies. Apocalyptic. Zechariah lifts up the curtain and shows us what was happening in heaven as Satan was standing before the throne of God as the accuser. Zechariah explains the spiritual conflict in the heavenlies at the same time it was being played out practically on earth in time and space in terms of the opposition that Ezra and Nehemiah were facing. Now, this same kind of scenario is something we see in the book of Daniel, and it's something we see in the book of Revelation. The conflicts we see on earth are reflections of conflicts in the heavenlies. We're not simply talking about political ideologies, we're talking about godliness, prophecy, righteousness as God defines righteousness. Let's begin understanding something. There is always conflict within and without. Just so I'm not misunderstood, let me begin first of all by pointing out my disappointments in a number of areas concerning Christians who equate a blind loyalty to the Republican Party or any political party with their faith. We need to pray for whoever gets elected, even if we don't like them. Now, it so happens I do generally like Donald Trump. I voted for him twice personally. I couldn't vote for him the last time because of his homosexual gala at Mar-a-Lago and certain other things. But I certainly prefer him to the alternative, and I certainly pray for him daily and wish him well. And I become extremely frustrated and angry at the kind of opposition thrown in his face. I pray for him and I wish him nothing but well. At the same time, that's not to say I always agree with him, and it's not to say he always agrees with Scripture. This week, we have to realize something. I am the Lord your God. You will have no other gods before me. At the Hindu feast, also celebrated by Jainists and by Sikhs, is the feast of Diwali. Diwali is the satanic counterfeit of Hanukkah, the feast of the Maccabees celebrated by Jews, the feast of rededication celebrated by Jesus in John chapter 10, Hanukkah. Hanukkah is the Hebrew feast of miracles and the Hebrew feast of light. And it's against this background that Jesus, the Jewish Messiah, comes to us saying he is the light of the world and so forth. It's in the New Testament and it's predicted in the book of Daniel. Well, Satan always has a counterfeit. And on Diwali, among other gods, Rama, Kaili, and Krishna are worshipped. The Hebrew Feast of Lights is one thing, the victory over the Seleucid Greeks, a picture of the victory that's going to take place over the Antichrist when the Maccabees defeated the type of the Antichrist, that is Antiochus Epiphanes, Antiochus IV, at the Feast of Hanukkah. In Diwali, they attribute the Feast of Light to something else. They say it's the triumph of good over evil, of knowledge over ignorance. They say things like that. But Hanukkah, celebrated by Jesus, gives the glory to the true God. Other gods are demons. We are told that. They are demons, Moses said, and Paul said. I've pointed this out many times using the Greek word damonoi and the Hebrew word shadim. Krishna is a demon. Rama is a demon. Kaili is a demon. These are demons. Yet, this demonic feast has been celebrated by Mr. Trump in the White House. Now, he's doing it for political reasons. We have a growing Asian community in the United States from India. Many of the upcoming generation of computer scientists and mathematicians are from India, clever people in Silicon Valley, an asset to the national economy. They come as postgraduate students and they come as legal aliens. They're important to the national economy because the American school system has been intentionally turned to garbage by the educational establishment and the teachers' unions. We have a designed to fail school system, and it's particularly designed to keep minorities illiterate, so they'll vote for who they're told to vote for. You've got Randy Weingarten and these wicked people, and the teachers' unions that only represent bad teachers, not good ones. We spend more on education than any other developed country, yet we get lower and lower results every year. So many of the teachers, a high percentage, some say as much as 40% of teachers, come from the lowest 40 to 50% of their graduating class, as opposed to countries like Finland and Singapore, where being a teacher is on a socioeconomic par and carries the social prestige of a physician or a lawyer. America has demeaned the teaching profession. And it's again, it's a failure. It's a complete and utter failure. It is there for purposes of social and socio-political engineering. It's not there to educate people. It's there to indoctrinate young people. It's not there to teach young people how to think. It's to teach them what to think. Our school system is complete and utter garbage. It needs to be replaced by charter schools and by private schools and by some kind of advanced form of homeschooling. The public school system has failed. It is only there to placate the teachers' unions that are essentially a political campaign fund for the left-wing Democratic Party. We see this in Chicago with its awful, awful mayor, who had been a so-called teacher, pandering to the teachers' unions. Well, the city is broke and can't afford anything. And he's just throwing money out the window after legal immigrants and all sorts. Well, the people of Chicago are going to the wall. Businesses are being forced to flee. This is the left, and this is the teachers' unions. It's sad that we need to import brain power from other countries. It's sad, but it's a reality. We need these people from Asia. Some are Korean, some are Taiwanese, some are Southeast Asians, but many, many, probably the largest number, are from India. And without them, our country would not be in good shape. Nonetheless, there's more to it than that. Mr. Trump is trying to lure India away from buying Russian oil. I understand that as well. He's trying to bring India into an alliance with Britain and Australia and Japan to counter China. I understand all of that. All of that. On the other hand, our trust must be in the Lord as a Judeo Christian nation. To celebrate something that is utterly demonic. And I've been to India many, many times. We have orphanages in India, churches in India. These religions are truly, truly not only false, but they keep people in poverty and in ignorance. You see, when people leave India and they come to the West, to Britain, to Australia, to America, and they get away from the Hindu influence and get away from the Hindu culture, how they prosper, how they work, how they study. But in India, where you have the caste system and Hinduism and Sikhism and Islam, it is not good. It is not good. I am appalled that demons are being worshipped in the White House by Donald Trump and his administration. I saw this in Britain. You had a British prime minister who was a Muslim celebrating Ramadan on number 10 Downing Street. Now we have Diwali being celebrated in the White House. I pray for Mr. Trump. I urge others to do so. But I am the Lord your God. You will have no other gods before me. With all of the strategic and economic considerations being taken into account, and the need for brain power to be imported from India, I accept all of that. However, we should not have had any religious celebrations in the White House other than that which reflects the Judeo-Christian foundations of the nation. We are a Judeo-Christian country. We're not a Hindu country, not a Sikh country, not a Muslim country, not a Jainist country, not a Buddhist country. America is Judeo-Christian, as is Britain, as are the British Commonwealth countries historically. This is wrong. I'm very, very disappointed, and I do not believe it is a good thing. Idolatry always brings calamity. It brings death. While I pray for Mr. Trump, I pray that he stops doing these terrible things. It's terrible. I know what Hinduism is. I have seen Hinduism. I've seen hungry children on the streets of Mumbai. I've seen unspeakable poverty on the streets of Delhi. We have an orphanage. We take Dalit children who are outcasts in the caste system who nobody cares about. Hindus don't care about them. They're not even considered human, virtually. Christians take care of them. I've seen what that religion is. And I know the persecution of Christians in India that's understated by the BJP, who is presently the party in power in India under Mr. Modi. I see how evil it is. Our missionaries and our pastors at our churches in India, and we have a few, will tell you because they were saved out of Hinduism. One of our trustees in Britain, Tirth, is a pastor of a congregation in the English Midlands composed of people saved out of Hinduism and saved out of Sikhism. He's a pastor of a church. He's an ex-Hindu. We have former Hindus in Moriel, both in India and in Britain. They will tell you what I am telling you. I am telling you what they told me, and I'm telling you what I've seen with my own eyes. What Mr. Trump has done and is doing is wrong. It is wrong. It is Diwali. It is demon worship. It is a religion that results in the most unspeakable social injustice imaginable. I was against the apartheid in South Africa. There were far worse injustices in Black Africa than in South Africa, but I was against apartheid. It was racist. I was against the segregation in the American South in my youth. My parents were against it. But at least we knew it was wrong. In India, it's not seen as wrong. A hungry child, that's his karma. It's supposed to be that way. Unlike Judaism and Christianity, Hinduism is different. The goal, or a goal, of Judaism and Christianity, of the Judeo-Christian faith, is the ultimate destruction of evil. The Valley is nonsense. Hinduism does not believe in the destruction of evil. Hinduism, in order to survive, requires the perpetuation of evil, not its destruction, because of karma. You're reincarnated. If you did something bad in this life, that's going to happen to you in the next life when you come back as a frog or something, or as a Dalit from the outcasts. Hinduism requires the perpetuation of evil because of the doctrine of karma. There's many other things in Hinduism. Things you couldn't. Can you imagine? When the Ganges River comes down from the Himalayas, the water is pure and clean. By the time it goes to the cities like Benares, if you drink it, you can become infested with God knows what, people dying of cholera, and oh my Lord, but they believe it's sacred, so they drink it. Human beings drinking cow urine. I'm not joking. They have a doctrine that a widow must throw herself on the burning corpse of her husband being cremated if he dies. There's even Hindu sects believe you have to murder a traveler. I'm not saying all Hindus believe all of these doctrines, but they're all in practice, and there's people in India doing it. Mark Jackson has had some encounter with people who are cannibals. They fish partially cremated corpses out of the Ganges and ritually eat the remains because their guru told them to. The Indian culture you see in America, Britain, Australia is basically restaurants. It's tasty food. It's papadums and it's pillow rice and it's chicken korma and chicken tikka and kulfi and a sweet yogurt drink lassi. That's what people in the West see. When you go to India, you see something else. You see what I saw. A little boy, maybe not quite 2 years old, a little sack of bones laying on top of a mound of stinking garbage in the middle of a street in Bombay, Mumbai, a huge city. Hungry, looked tubercular. Thousands of people passing him an hour, thousands. Nobody said or did anything. That's his karma. Go up the road and they're feeding cows sacks of wheat. The life of a cow worth more than the life of a baby. I've seen it with my own eyes. How could something be so barbaric? How could such injustice, such inhumanity be culturally celebrated because of religious belief? No, Diwali, the Hebrew Feast of Lights, is not good conquering evil like Hanukkah, like John chapter 10, like the book of Daniel. Hinduism requires the perpetuation of evil. It requires the perpetuation of injustice. I've seen it. Our missionaries deal with it. I didn't want to see it in the White House. How can such a thing happen? I am the Lord your God. You will have no other gods before me. In Britain, I would say, not Allah. But now in Washington, I have to say, not Lakima, not Krishna, not Kaili, not Rama. I'm just telling you the truth. Frankly, I'm sickened and disgusted. Please pray for Mr. Trump. He's a politician. Yes, he's more sympathetic to born-again Christians. He needs their vote. Yes, he's more supportive of Israel. He's got Jewish grandchildren. Many things I agree with, but he's not one of us. He needs to get saved and become one of us. Be careful of those naive Christians who are pretending and trying to tell you otherwise. Please pray for him. But this is not good. Not at all good. But let's move on. We have the shutdown. I personally do not understand why the Republican Party is not going for the nuclear option. The nuclear option was used by Harry Reid and the Democrats. He was a horrible man. Why don't the Republicans use it now? There are two reasons. One, we do not have a conservative leader of the Senate. We have Thune, a rhino. And a rhino may as well be a Democrat. A rhino is just a two-face. He's a Democrat who pretends to be a Republican. As I say, rhinos are simply Democrats who sit on the opposite side of the aisle. That's one reason. Thune is a bad choice. Somebody like Ted Cruz should have been the leader, or Senator Kennedy, but not Thune. Not a Mitch McConnell. Secondly, politics is politics. And the shutdown is hurting the Democrats more than it's hurting the Republicans. 11 times the Democrats have refused to pass the spending bill, the CR, continuing resolution. 11 times. They even refused to support a partial provision to be sure the military families get paid. That is how wicked Schumer and Jeffries are. A lot of people are seeing this. Even some Democrats are seeing it. And of course, people like Bernie Sanders made clear he doesn't care. Alexandria Ortega-Cortez made it clear she really doesn't care. They just gave double talk, but they don't care. I understand politics and political reality. I understand that it seems to be hurting Democrats more than Republicans. But when you've got military families, people who put their lives on the line to protect the rest of us, or when you have essential services and people who have mortgages to pay, families to support, private tuition for schools for their kids. Look, we need to do something. The Democrats should be given an ultimatum. We're going to go for a nuclear option if you continue to do this to these federal employees, and especially if you continue to do this to these military families. The nuclear option should be put on the table, and Thune should be stuffed under the table. This is not good. Again, you cannot prioritize electoral politics over the good of military families and others. You can't do that. You can't prioritize politics or economics over a heathen feast to pagan gods. But it's being done. Politics is ruling the day. There has been an accusation that's a long time coming against John Brennan. I would love that man to die in solitary confinement, and James Clapper with him. He is being accused of perjury. I believe him to be guilty. I want him to be brought to justice. I pray that these prosecutions go forward. But let's talk now about the desperation of the left. And it's not only in the United States. Their refusal to pass a CR is an act of desperation. Well, these families are struggling. Schumer, Sanders, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have all said, we have to end this, but then they said, we have to continue it. We can't give in. They don't care. I question if Thune cares, but the liberals care even less about the country, about the others. This is not good. This is what it comes down to. It is a bad, bad situation. The left in Britain, millions, between 1 and 3 million British citizens protested in the streets of London against the illegal Islamic immigration and the pandering to radical Islam and putting these illegal immigrants who hate Britain up in hotels. You can see militant Muslims saying, we're tired of your democracy. We're giving you an alternative, Sharia. If they're tired of democracy, why do they come to Britain? Why don't they go back to the Muslim world where they don't have any democracy? Nobody made them come. But that means nothing to the Starmer government. Nothing. In America, no king. No king. They lost an election fairly. The popular vote went to Mr. Trump. They couldn't carry a single swing state. And there was a virtual electoral college majority. They can't accept the fact that they lost a fair election. So they politically mobilized left-wing judges appointed by Obama and Biden to obstruct democracy. And they begin saying democracy is under threat by the same regime that turned the FBI into a political Gestapo and took social media to suppress free speech under threat of the federal government and coercion from the federal authorities. The very enemies of democracy themselves who tried to subvert elections with the Steele dossier. The real enemies of democracy accuse Mr. Trump of what they did themselves. Justice Letitia James falsely indicts and prosecutes Donald Trump for something he was innocent of, but she is guilty of, by all published records and accounts. Their hypocrisy knows no end. They're resorting to violence. They can't win the election, so we're going to become violence. I believe the Insurrection Act needs to be enacted against these people if they do not stop. And we need a way to remove judges who legislate from the bench, who set themselves up in place of Congress. who make policy from the bench, that should be an immediate impeachable offense. Higher courts, the Supreme Court, should have the power also to remove any lower court federal judge if they keep giving decisions that are being overturned by appellate courts. Again, these political and legal battles, these media battles, are a reflection of conflicts happening in the heavenlies. Please pray. Pray for America. Pray for Britain. Pray for Mr. Trump. Pray for Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. And pray that God stirs up the hearts of the true Christians to pray for revival and preach the true gospel. My name is James Jacob Prasch. Most of you know that. Here on Catching Up with Jacob. Thank you so much for joining us. God bless.